Hello everybody! We are back in the craft room, ready to make a new costume! This costume I'm making in this video, it actually is not for a group, it's not for a brand deal, it's not for a con. I have free will again. I just could not decide between all the options because I could literally create anything with these hands, but I did narrow it down to 3 things I want out of my new costume I'll be making. Number 1, I want it to be easy. As I was suffering through Technoharmonics, I told myself as a treat, my next cosplay would be something I actually know how to make. Number 2, I wanted the costume to be weather appropriate. We are heading into summer now, and it can get very hot here. And then finally, number 3, I would like my costume to be made either entirely or mostly out of fabrics I already have. I have decided that my next costume will be Ino from Naruto, because the easiest costume to make is one you have already made before. That's right, I made Ino in 2019 with a YouTube tutorial to accompany the costume. I am doing a bit of a different design. In 2019, I made her Naruto Shippuden outfit that she wears. Today, I will be making her outfit from Naruto, the last movie. There's good reason for that, and it's because I don't have hair as much as I used to. I used to have a lot of hair. I would put my natural hair, I don't know if I can do it. I would put my natural hair in a ponytail, but it was bigger than this one. And then I had a ponytail clip and I would clip it on like that. Oh no, that hurts. There's only 5 hairs in that ponytail. But you get the idea. I when I cosplayed Ino before, I used my natural hair and I just clipped in this huge ponytail and it looked super nice. Clearly, I do not have that hair anymore. So I've decided instead I'm going to make Ino's outfit from the movie where she has her hair down. A little bit of a different reference picture because I don't want to deal with a ponytail wig, but otherwise, I think we're going to be pretty closely following the tutorial I did back in 2019. Let's get to patterns and materials. Fabrics. I have this dark purple spandex blend of some sort. This is leftovers from my Lucy Grand Magic Games outfit, so this is all from my stash. For her black underskirt, I did have to buy some fabric for this, and this is from the last dying breath of Joanne's fabrics. So you can see it has the buy it by the bolt discount on it. A matte jersey, 100% polyester. But also very stretchy. I do have a number of other fabrics in my stash from my Naruto days for all the accessories and extra pieces, but that's enough for us to get going. For the patterns, I thought I'd just use exactly the same patterns I used back in 2019. The underskirt from this M7270 McCall's pattern. And then, of course, the tried and true, the one and only Yaya Han's Ultimate Bodysuit pattern for the top. And as I pulled out my beaten and worn Ultimate Bodysuit pattern, I realized this can be even easier, because there was my Techna crop top mock-up stuffed into the pattern bag. This is a cosplay I did a few years ago, and it is almost exactly like what I want for Ino, but Ino will have buttons instead of a zipper. In fact, I felt so confident I cut out the lining and the outside layer at the same time. I also felt like it would be wise to look back on that 2019 tutorial again to see if I had any words of wisdom for my future self remaking this costume, and it turns out I did. And my suggestion, which I know now but did not know then, is you also want to give yourself quite a bit of seam allowance in that front zipper portion because you want buttons and so you have space for the fabric to overlap. Thankfully, this fabric was stretchy enough, it worked out in the end. And now I'm remembering that I did have a lot of gapping on that costume in the front because it was a little bit too tight. So we are going to fix that. I'm adding 1.5 inches to that front pattern piece to have overlap space for the buttons. And then I'm gonna sew this all up together, which is gonna go really fast. It's exactly the same way I did it back in 2019, except now I have the wisdom of using a stretch needle, which I'm not sure I used before. Okay, I do have the lining layer here. Even though I already cut out everything for both layers, I felt like it'd still be a good idea to at least try this on before sewing the outside layer. You can see that I added a lot of overlap here for the buttons. The only weird thing is whatever's happening here, that's fine, we'll just tuck it under for now. I'm happy with this lining layer. We are going to do exactly the same thing for the outside layer. Even though this is a pattern I've used like so many times, and it's a costume I have made before, I just sewed the wrong seam together. And I created some sort of monstrosity that cannot be worn. Oh no! And now I've put a hole in the fabric with my seam ripping. Okay, so the fabric I'm using this time around isn't as nice a quality as the stuff I used before. It's just what happens when you work with whatever's in your stash. That's fine. I kind of hoped that my experience that I had gained in sewing would counteract the lower quality of the fabric. The only other difference I want to mention is that for this build I am doing a top stitch on all the seams, which is quite risky considering the issues I have redoing any mess ups with this thin fabric. But I think it is a nice little detail on a simple costume. This top for Ino is pretty much a one-to-one recreation of the top I made before. So I'm going through the rest of this process pretty quickly as I don't want to repeat myself. Here is how the top is looking. Pretty good, I think. All that's left is to sew on the buttons. And I'll be using these silver shank buttons, which are new, but it's only because it was one of Joanne's Fabric's final wishes for me to have these new buttons for my Ino cosplay, and they were on a really good sale. But I was thinking while I'm sewing on these buttons, I might tell you about my Naruto lore. I started the colleen.cosplay YouTube channel back in 2018, and the first fandom that I really participated in on YouTube as a cosplayer was Naruto. My very first video that got like a significant amount of views was my Tamari fan tutorial, but it's still, I think, one of the most popular on my channel just because nobody else had really tapped into the niche of Naruto cosplay tutorials. And I was going to make that my personality. And Naruto tutorials are what got me my first 100 subs on this channel. Guess what I did for my 100 subscriber special? I made another Naruto tutorial. Like, that was just so ingrained with the brand of Colleen Cosplay that I was creating. I had plans to maybe even make a cosplay tutorial for every single Naruto character, or at least all the girls. Like all fandoms, I was just passing through on the journey of life. But I found myself a little bit nostalgic for my earlier years of YouTube and how there was no stress and no pressure, and I was just a weird guy on the internet making videos. The Colleen cosplay part of my life was definitely simpler back then, but I would never want to go back. I am fully aware that I am putting on the nostalgia goggles and things seem like they were all nice and amazing then, but they really weren't. Well, I went back and I was looking at the old footage from when I wore Ino to KoronakoCon 2019 because I wanted to use some of that footage for this video. I saw in that video how I was using forearm crutches at that con, but I would set them aside for the photos. I have set them down because I do not want them in any of my pictures at that point in my life. So I was really struggling with appearing physically disabled and what that meant for cosplay. I was obviously like fighting with a lot of self-confidence internalized ableism. I'm hoping that like as I'm remaking this costume, it's not only showcasing like the change in craftsmanship and like how I sew things and the change in video production and how I've gotten better at making videos, but I'm also hoping you'll be able to see like the change in confidence and how like I'm just doing a whole lot better now than I was back then. Ah, guys, look how cute it is! The top is done. Now let's move on to the skirt. And I would also like to make the underskirt a bit longer because I use a wheelchair now, and short skirts when sitting in a wheelchair all day become really, really short skirts. And so I cut this out on the seam allowance that like the pattern was cut out to, which is I'm like assuming what I used before. And you could fit a second Colleen in here. Like literally there could be 2 Colleens in this skirt right now. I actually do think I'm gonna take it in by like maybe 2 inches on either side. It doesn't need to be like skin tight. I will be gathering it down to a waistband. I don't remember seeing like in the old video if I did any alterations to make this smaller. The journalistic integrity of baby Colleen is coming into question now. So we have a situation being that we might not have enough fabric. Skirt pattern adjusted so that it's the right size, and I have traced a chalk outline with how long I want the skirt to be because Ino has the longer skirt with this design. I can get it once, I can get it twice, I can get it 3 times, but not quite a 4th, which is what I would need to completely line the skirt. And I'm just like figuring this out now, so I'm kind of like brainstorming on camera. The easiest option would be to just say, who cares about accuracy anyways? And to just make it shorter, much more like her regular skirt from her other outfit. The other option that would probably be like equally easy is to just not line the skirt. Okay, moving on to our final option is we could commit a crime. So hear me out, hear me out. So there's a few different types of stretch fabric. 2-way stretch and 4-way stretch. So this is a 2-way stretch. That means it stretches in this direction. See how much it stretches? But in the other direction, not as much. There's still a little bit of give here, but not a lot. So that means I need to have the stretch direction in the direction the garment needs to stretch. So like for shirts and skirts, I would want it to be stretching like this so it could stretch around my body. Does that make sense? So I could commit the crime of cutting out that last layer in the opposite stretch direction. So it would have no stretch to it. This can lead to quite a few problems, like the fabric not really laying right, the seams not really laying right, because essentially you have one part of the skirt stretching and the other part not stretching, and they are sewn together, so when it's pulling, it's not stretching equally across the skirt. One more idea that I came up with, and I think this might be the winner. I could cut it out as 2 pieces and sew them together. I still get the long skirt, I'm still cutting everything out in the correct stretch direction, and it is still lined. There will just be a seam in the back lining layer of the skirt that you won't really be able to see anyways because I will be sitting on it. And you can see that when everything was all sewn up, it's pretty much impossible to see those extra seams I had to add in the back. Here I am trying to even get them to show up on camera. Everything else followed that tutorial, just with a little bit of extra length. Oh no, I turned off the light! I love the length on this, and I also love that everything is lined. It has just such a nice weight to it. The only like little nitpicky thing I have about this skirt, and there's nothing I could do about it, I didn't have enough fabric, is you'll see in the reference that when she is standing, these purple pieces lay shut. And I just did not have enough fabric to make that happen. So with the top done and the skirt done. All that's left to talk about is a few accessories. I forgot to tell you guys something. I meant to talk about this when I was reminiscing on my past, but I forgot to mention what happened to all my old Naruto cosplays. I feel like it has been implied throughout this video that all of them are completely gone. I do have a few pieces left. I do pretty regularly sell my costumes, clear out old ones. It's a nice little cycle of life in the craft room here, but I do have one rule for myself, and that is that I do keep a costume from every fandom that I've like really significantly been involved in. I like to have just one stashed away in long-term storage in case there's a fun collab or I'm just like really missing that fandom. So for Naruto, I kept Rock Lee, which might seem like a really silly choice, but Rock Lee goes with my husband's My Guy. They are just super fun to cosplay together at a con. I don't have many duo cosplays that I do with my husband, and I kept my kunai. Still has a peace bond on it. So I will have my kunai to use as a prop for Ino. Everything that I have not pulled out of this fun little bag is gone. It's sold. I no longer have the Tamari fan. I sold that quite a while ago. So that means we will have to put together some other accessory pieces. So let's start with her armband things. I will need to remake those, unfortunately. The really good thing about the armbands, though, is I still have the original fabrics and patterns from when I made them for Ino before. Let this be a lesson to hold on to your old self-drafted patterns. I'm basically going to replicate exactly the same armbands I made in that older video, or for any of my other Naruto characters that had the arm netting pieces. I did make quite a few of those throughout all my Naruto cosplays. They come together super quick. From what I can tell, for this version of Ino, she has just fishnet tights that she wears underneath the skirt. I'm bringing out like the ancient Naruto cosplay lore, but if you get a pair of like really large fishnet tights, you can actually cut a hole in the crotch area and you can put it over your head. So I do still have the one from Tamari. I'm gonna see if it still works. Oh yeah! Haha! So I actually have a whole extra pair of fishnet tights that I had probably intended to use this method on to get the arms, but I'm just gonna wear them as tights. They are a pretty large size, but they seem to still look okay when I wear them as tights. Moving along, let's talk about shoes. So I do still have, from my Rock Lee cosplay, my Naruto sandals. These are the cheap Amazon sandals, and I wore these back when I was walking, so they are quite beat up. I do not think they look very good. I wanted something a little bit more classier though. Okay, I got these. Woo! Those are kind of fun. So I will be altering these. I would like to cut them down to about here, like mid shin. This seems like a pretty like reasonable fabric to put under my sewing machine. So I'm gonna chop these boots, and I think I can just fold over the top, give it a zigzag stitch for a hem, and I will have some fun open-toed heels at the correct height. Last thing to talk about is the hair. I have an Arta wig, and this is one that I got with the intention of using for a Supergirl cosplay, but I think it's just a little bit too platinum blonde for Supergirl. This is a Luthien Silky in the color Sandstone from Arta Wigs. You know, going back to the beginning of the video, the reason I chose this design of Ino was so I could make the wig work very easy. So all I'm gonna do here is straighten out the curls and then make some anime bangs. Just tease up those bangs, lots of hairspray, and of course I'll also want to check with a wig this long that it's gonna be compatible with my wheelchair. And with all those little bits and pieces addressed, it is time for the final reveal of my new and improved Ino cosplay. Final thoughts on Ino remade in 2025. Obviously, I love the costume, but I'm also just really grateful that this was the costume that did not have any deadlines or any expectations attached to it. I took a really long time with this one. It was like a month to make this video because I was like going through all my old Naruto merch to wear in the video. I was pulling out my old Naruto fan art, taking a look at it. I learned the hand jutsus so that we could do a full choreographed lip sync. I just really got to enjoy Naruto again from this point in my life and take my time with this one. And I'm just like so grateful for that because I'm having a great time. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.